So, how's your Friday?
So far, it's going great, besides the weather.
What's wrong with the weather? I actually haven't been outside today, so what's going on with the weather?
Oh, it was raining, but now it's snowing. So
Like, huh?
here, I'm up here on the east bench, so we get hit a little bit harder.
I got you. I'm what was a little bit south of Salt Lake, so
Oh, okay.
the Murray area. Yeah. The other day it was windy out of nowhere, so
Yeah. I'm just happy we're getting a little bit of snow. We need it. I'm not complaining.
we need it. Yeah, I wasn't happy, but then I realized it's still winter, so I'll just let it pass. Once spring hits, there's no reason for it. Don't even bother Mother Nature.
I live for spring because spring brings cars and motorcycles out. So.
Yeah. Here's the thing too. I'm going to be up front. I don't know anything about cars or motorcycles, so this is going to be a fun conversation because I'm sure that's going to be brought up. I'm excited to learn about stuff. So without further ado, then let's have you introduce yourself, and then that we could put a face to the voice and all that stuff.
Yeah, my name is Malyna. I'm a Utah photographer. I have been published in 2020. I was published 8 times. And that was actually the year I kind of started everything at the end of 2019. And then everything kind of just took off in 2020. So it was, a lot of people had a bad year. I'm really not complaining about my year. But do photography full time. I'm the owner of Motor Maidens, which is a brand and car show modeling team. I am also the owner of Motor Street Society. We are a car photography collective. We just are all passionate about taking photos of cars, and now we created a blog for all of us to share photos too. And then finally, I'm also the president of the Valkyrie's Car Club, where we support female mechanics. Eventually we'll have a garage for all of us ladies to come, and any ladies that need to work on cars that would prefer to be more comfortable in a female only garage, I'll have one for them. So
damn,
yeah.
that's really cool. Especially because just think about cars and our shops and stuff. It does definitely scream kind of like masculinity. So I think it's great to include a lot of the female roles and showing how badass they actually are and how better they are in a lot of regards too,
There's a huge following. I mean, it's in a lot of women, they don't come out. A lot of the real female mechanics don't come out and be like, hey, I work on cars. Usually just see a lot of the cute girls, just with a wrench, just smiling like it. But so you really gotta dig deep to find those girls that like to get dirty in the garage and spend all day working on a bike or a car. And it's awesome. Last year I found a lot of women that are car enthusiasts, a couple bikers. I mean, I grew up on motorcycles and muscle cars. So my mother was actually one of the first women to race at Rocky Mountain Raceways before, back in the day before it was gone. But so I've just kind of I've been in this world for a long time, and it's been very masculine. So I just figured, last year I was like, I was doing regular portrait stuff before that, but last year I was like, I've always loved cars. I need to be in that industry. So I mixed my love for portraits and cars and created the Motor Maidens. But
that's actually really cool.
Yeah, it's hard being a woman.
I'm sure. Especially because as far as motorcycles and clubs go, I'm only aware of them because of Sons of Anarchy, which is kind of a
Yeah.
masculine show,
Very,
I would say.
yes. Yes. It is.
Yeah. So the fact like I've seen some of your work like on your website actually, and I'm like, God, that's so badass to see
Thank
like women with motorcycles and just like really it's I find it empowering just as a guy. Like I find it empowering, but like I don't know anything about
you.
that
Yeah.
world. So I think it's great that
Yeah.
you kind of brought it to the surface and you're like, boo.
Well, it's fun too because actually, like a lot of the women that are even on my Motor Maidens modeling team actually work on their own cars and everything too. There's only a couple in there that are actually just models, but yeah, it's when I take them all to car shows and just watch them just geek out over the cars that show up, and they're like, "Oh, I want a photo with this one," and it's so fun. I love being around women that they're car enthusiasts. Like they're very they're very real people, and they're very passionate, and that's what I love.
Yeah. So then what came first then? Like, so you said that you grew up in the world of like cars and stuff. Like, was that like a very young age then from the get go? And then you
Yeah,
kind of found photography on the way?
both. Yeah, both my parents are mechanics. So I legit spent most of my life inside the garage with my dad, handing him tools. And then my mom started racing. So then we would go to her races. And then basically they were in that world for a little while and then separated. And then now we're like, and then I kind of fell out for a minute after they separated. And then I kind of had to like figure out where my place was in that world. And since my passion has always been photography, I just immediately was like, well, I want to be the one on the side taking pictures of all the race cars. I mean, who else doesn't want awesome pictures of cars on their wall, and be like, I took that photo.
Well, I like your photography too, because a lot of the stuff I see on my Facebook feed is just like a bunch of modified Subarus that guys, are obsessed with.
Yeah.
And they're not bad photos, but it's just like a clusterfuck of these generic Subarus, if you will. But your stuff sticks out because it's like definitely like stylized with race cars and motorcycles, and it looks more edgy, which I think is really cool.
That's what I was. Originally, a lot of people just thought I was going to do only motorcycles, but I have a huge passion for muscle cars. Like I cannot cut out the hot rods in the muscle cars. But I do like to lean towards more of like a classic style. I'm not so much into like supercars. But I do occasionally like to use them. I like more custom looks and stuff like that. Motor Maidens is more based on like heavy metal models posing with muscle cars and hot rods.
Right.
And then everything else I do for like Motor Society, I take pictures of supercars or muscle cars or motorcycle or whatever, really. So
what's your favorite car then? Like, have you had like a favorite car since you were younger?
yes, it is the 1969 GTO Judge. Has to be the all black one though. I know a lot of people are like, you got to do the original orange if you're going to buy a Judge, but you know what? You're wrong. It looks better in black.
I'm looking this up right now.
Yeah, it's
Looks like the Dukes of Hazzard car.
Yeah, it is. Or no, I believe there's a Challenger or Charger. I can't remember. But yes, yeah. The Judge is one of the most iconic muscle cars. So it's definitely my favorite. My second favorite's the Barracuda.
That's fair. That's actually a really pretty car.
Woody drives a Barracuda in Fast and Furious, so that's a real woman for you right there.
Okay, now since you brought that up, then do you like the Fast and Furious flicks?
I like the cars. I don't know so much about like the plot and whatever. They did pick really good actors. I will give them that. But as far as like, you know, it's kind of cheesy. I mean, everything's got its cheese, but I mean, it's a legit just a show about cars and racing and being badasses. So it's hard to not love it, especially cars are attractive. So yeah, I like it, I guess.
Well, and so the way they drive, I mean, like the way like all these movies drive, like with John Wick too, you know,
Yeah.
I would imagine that there's a lot of maintenance after like their action sequences where they have to replace shocks and all that stuff.
They actually, I found out, have multiple cars that are meant for one scene. Like they'll just destroy one and then just use the backup one sometimes. So, and me knowing that, watching John Wick, I almost cried watching his car get destroyed. Like it was almost as sad as the part when the dog dies. I was like, leave the car alone. So, yes, cars have feelings. I talk to mine. I mean, I have a 4Runner that I work on, which I have another page specifically for it. It's at the Lunar 4x4. Woohoo, Toyota. Anyway. But yeah, my 4Runner is alive in my mind. I have conversations with it.
You know, I actually talked to mine. I actually named mine. Her name's Catherine. She's just like a little 2016 Honda Civic, but she's like really pretty blue, you know? And I'm like, Catherine, I'm so sorry you have windshield, but
yeah, I named mine Blade originally because it's 4Runner, Blade Runner, you know. So Blade.
That wasn't where my mind was. I thought you were gonna say it's because of like it like wears like I thought it was because like the car is black and like you know Blade wears like the black trench coat and stuff.
Yeah.
Like
a lot of people too, and I'm like, no, it's Blade Runner, and they're like, oh, okay. So I gotta leave the on the end, and then they get it.
that makes you even more badass. I love Blade Runner.
I love that.
So how old were you then when you started taking photos?
Well, I've literally used to buy like the old disposables back in the 90s. And then from there, Polaroid was first, then the disposables. Then I just got like your basic little Sony handheld. And this all started from like the age of 12. Then at 21, I bought my first DSLR. And I started doing landscape and just cars. And then in 2019, I started doing just portraits. And then 2020, I just switched back to portraits and cars. So been doing it for quite a while. I do modeling too. I'm also an alternative model. I model for Burning Paper Hearts. They're a really, really awesome local art store here in Utah. And I got certified and I was certified as a modeling coach by Shanari International. But I don't like modeling very much.
Why not?
The industry is not nice, for one. I mean, it's just hard. It's hard being a model. It's physically hard on your body, and then it's also mentally hard on you because the constant criticism, the constant self-doubt about your image, like making sure that you have to look perfect all the time aesthetically, you know. And me, I'm a huge tomboy. Like I don't even do my makeup. Like so I got the modeling stuff out of the way, and it kind of just cemented in that I wanted to be a photographer. And so that's another reason why I full blown just pushed myself into photography.
Well, I think with the modeling experience, I mean, at least that kind of helps you more with when you're working with models, since you have that background, right?
It helps a lot with posing, and I understand their pain if they like do a pose and they're like, I can't, this hurts. Like a lot of photographers will just like, man up, hold the pose. And I'm like, it's okay, we'll figure it out. I don't want to like torture you because like, But yeah, it's been nice. And a lot of the especially a lot of the models I work with, they like direction. Well, I'd say it's half and half. But the ones that like direction, it comes very helpful having that knowledge. Like I genuinely probably would be lost without it.
Right.
So yes, it is a tool that has gotten me further in this business for sure.
So when you're taking photos, and like what's your camera, like your favorite camera and your favorite lens to shoot with? I mean, obviously it depends on like what you're shooting, right? But
I just barely bought a brand new Sony A7R2 and a Sigma 35 millimeter art lens. Oh, it was so pretty.
I'm jealous of you, by the way. So
I just still will like sit here and just stare at it on my desk. I'm like, man, that's pretty. But no, that's probably my favorite setup right now. For the last year, I was using a Nikon D600 with a 50 millimeter 1.8 and just a kit lens. And I just, I like the 50, but there's just something about the 35, man. And it's so much better for cars. It is beautiful.
I'm sure. So was it weird switching over then to a Sony from the Nikon?
I am not going to lie. It was so much easier on the Sony. For some reason, like you get the Nikon and you look through the manual, their manual is like thick. Right. All right. You get the Sony and like the buttons are so simple. Controls are simple. You don't need to know a lot of codes, and the manual is like tiny. And it honestly is, I like it better. I haven't used any of the new Nikons. I haven't used the mirrorless Nikon either, but I mean, I really don't think you can beat the Sony in mirrorless.
Yeah, because before I had a T4i, just like one of those basic Canon kit stuff. Then I upgraded. I was torn between the Sony or another Canon. But then I was like, I don't want to learn a new interface. And I already have like some glass, for the camera.
Yeah.
So I was like, yeah. So I upgraded to the 5D, which is full frame over the crop frame. So I'm a fan of that.
Yeah, I actually was going to just get the Nikon D850, but my best friend uses a Sony, the same one, and he was just like, you have to do it. Like you can't do Canon or Nikon anymore. You just got to switch to Sony. And so eventually I was like, all right, I'll do it. And because we can share lenses, like I lost all my Nikon lenses, and he's like, you're good. You can use mine. I'm like, perfect. So.
Well, and there's something cool.
I was okay with this.
What was that?
Oh, I was like, I was very happy with the switch.
I'm glad, because I actually know one of my other friends switched from Canon to Sony as well. But there's something like when I see like photos posted on Instagram or just on the web, I feel like you could tell kind of like what camera it is shot on, because like Nikon has a very peculiar look, Canon has a very peculiar look,
yeah,
and Sony has a very peculiar look that just looks so sexy. Like
I know.
That's like whenever I see like a Sony photographer on Instagram, I'm just like, damn, that's a good photo.
Yeah, when I think of Canon, I think of like high fashion, and then when I think of Nikon, I think of like artsy, and then Sony's just like commercial. Like just all the high end stuff.
Yeah, Sony just released a new camera. I think Casey Neistat just got a what do you call it? A test of it, like a.
Oh yeah.
He's holding it in his photo. We'll just say that. I'm just like,
that's
bastard.
Cool. Yeah, no, really cool. I just thought it was funny because I just bought my new one, and I was like, well, I'm not planning on upgrading for the rest of my life.
Yeah, it's quite the jump,
Yeah, I know. Everyone should have just bought the 4, and I'm like, nah, I'm okay with the 2.
Yeah, I actually I had to send my camera into the Canon factory to get fixed, which gave me a lot of anxiety because they're like, well, due to COVID, our California shops are closed. So you have to send it all the way to
Oh,
Virginia. Yeah. I was like,
oh,
what? And then like
yeah,
that was expensive in itself. I'm just like, I could have just bought like a new lens with all that money I just wasted on
yeah,
fixing it.
yeah, yeah. I've had a few friends do that. They just, I mean, they could have bought a new one, but instead they just replaced it, paid for parts, called it good.
Pretty much, yeah. They had to replace I think the circuit board of mine. I don't know. It was corrupting all my footage and photos. So who knows why?
Huh. Well, that's lame.
I know. The guy was like, maybe one of your card pins are bent or something, but we'll check it out after you pay this much money. I'm like, shut up.
Get out. It's too much.
Get out. I'm on a budget. But so have you thought about I don't know, because like a lot of the stuff I've seen, like I've seen it's during the day is what it looks like. Have you thought about doing like some night moody photos with the cars and models and stuff?
I do want to do some night stuff. I haven't done any night stuff for Motor Maidens yet. I have done like some street stuff portrait wise without cars, but I do think the cars would be sweet. I did do one that was like dusk, so it was kind of dark, but you still have the twilight in there. And those turned out so cool. The tail lights and the headlights. I just love the lights. They look so great. They look good.
It's so fun.
So,
well,
but yeah, one.
Well, before you take photos of cars, like you know, to prep them for the photos, do you like have to number one wash them and then polish them, or like is there like a process to prepare for the photo shoot?
It depends on the car owner. If the car owner shows up and he's like went and got it detailed, then I don't have to do anything. But most of the time that doesn't happen. So then I bring like extra towels and cleaner and stuff. So I'm just like, hey, let's just wipe it down so I don't have to Photoshop as much. But yeah, I mean, there's a pretty good process. Like you show up and you detail the car a little bit and you get the car set up. The more bigger issue is moving the car, because you know it's not hard for a model to pose, but to get a car to pose, you gotta get in and move it back and forth here and there, and it's about half the time the car owner should be like, here's the keys, you just do it. I'm like, okay, and I'm quick and I can do it and I get it done. And then there's some owners that are like, no, I'll do it. And I feel bad. I'm like, can you move it here? Can you move it there?
Turn the wheel just a little bit.
I like, yeah. I'm like, sorry, can you just move it? But they're fun. I have a lot.
So is it primarily like muscle cars and kind of rods rather than just like mainstream cars, or can anybody with a car come? Like I don't like what's the limitations of it?
For Motor Maidens specifically, I have a photography package that people can purchase if they want, I don't know, like one of the Motor Maidens to pose with their car. It doesn't matter what it is. It could be like an everyday driver. Or there's another package on there where the people can pose with their own car and I'll take the photos. So we basically offer the two different options. And yeah, or I mean, if you want to pose with car and Motor Maidens, even throw on that third option, you know? But yes.
That's exciting though. So what are some of the hardships you've faced so far since you've switched over to doing cars and models? Oops.
It is first, it's very competitive in Utah already. And then you enter the car photography scene, and then it becomes twice as competitive because everybody with a camera can take a picture of a car. So, I mean, the hardest thing I've had to deal with is trying to start up a business as a female in this industry and trying to not step on people's toes. And that, that happened a few times last year. I mean, there was people that wanted to be exclusive and be the only car photographer in Utah. And, you can't do that. Like, that's not possible. There's 50 photographers here. They all show up at car shows. It's a public event. You can't tell them not to be there,
Right.
So it's very competitive. People like exclusivity. It's very competitive. That's all I can say. and for me, I'm like the only woman out there right now that's trying to dip my toes in there, which has actually been really awesome because, for example, my two sponsors, the first one is Raw Tin Garage. The owner's John. He's been amazing. Like he paints all the custom motorcycles and cars here in Utah, and he takes them to Comic-Con, like he did the Captain America bike and everything.
Oh.
So I've known him for a while. I used to be a model for his booth at Comic-Con, and eventually, now that I started my business, I reached out to him and I was like, please, like, I would love to have you as one of my sponsors. Like, you're one of my good friends, and you're one of the best artists in Utah when it comes to painting, and he's such a sweetheart. He was so excited to collab with me on the Motor Maidens. So he was very supportive. And then my other sponsor is Unity Car Show Productions. And my life has changed since meeting them. They are the most caring car community, even community in general in Utah. Like, if anybody's having a bad day, they'll put a car show together and drive in front of your house with a bunch of cars. Like, no matter what, they're always there. They're always taking care of the community. And, last year when I was going through my hardships with, competing photographers, like, they had my back. They made sure that I came out on top. They made sure I had everything I need. They made sure to promote all my stuff for me. And they basically just let me bring my Motor Maidens girls, to every car show they host. And they're really good people. So it's awesome knowing that there's some very, very genuine people in the car community. And I'm grateful that I met the correct people, and now I'm flourishing because of these people. And I'm very grateful. So
yeah, it kind of goes to show, it's a matter of who regardless of like what field you're in.
mm-hmm.
So that's cool though.
Yeah.
What are some of the best highs then that you've kind of experienced since transitioning into like this new, like with your sponsors and with the car shows and with your maidens, like some of the best highs? Yeah.
I mean, I've had some pretty lame summers, I'm just going to say that, like, for most of my life, I don't know, like I just hang out and I dirt bike locally, and I just, go axe throwing or whatever. And then, like, last summer was just all Motor Maidens. And so it was like car shows every weekend, photo shoots every weekend. Like, we just like were out cruising. It was probably, I wouldn't say 2020 is one of my best in life, but it's definitely one of the top. I'm definitely grateful. It was a good year for me. I mean, I think my highlight was definitely Motor Maidens, and meeting the community and the car community and building all the relationships that I did last year. It was amazing. And there's nothing cooler than a car show and cruise, let me tell you, especially when you're riding in the back of a truck with all the Motor Maidens waving like your prom queens.
That's exciting though. And I bet with COVID, I'm pretty sure it was a little bit of a different experience than like what it usually would be, right? Like maybe it would be like a lot busier without COVID.
Actually, it was still pretty busy because the car shows were the only thing going on during COVID, kind of. And it was outside. So a lot of people would just show up with masks and just walk around and check out the cars and social distance, and it was fine. And then when it got a little more intense, they shut down the car show portion, but they said that cruises could continue. So then we started just doing like parade style cruises with the cars, and then people would go sit out in their yards in their lawn chairs and just watch as we cruise the neighborhoods. So it was cool.
That sounds really fun.
Yeah, it was good. Yeah, and the city always gets involved too. Wherever we go, we Unity will usually call the city and be like, "Hey, we're cruising through this neighborhood, make an announcement," and then everyone can go outside.
So you haven't had any issues with like, I don't know, city cops or stuff like that? I don't.
No, no, they've been pretty supportive. Though I wish they would help us with traffic just a little bit more. We usually have a few guys on motorcycles that will like go stop in the middle of the intersection so we can like continue the parade. But I'm like, we're guys. But no, the city's been awesome. They'll come hang out at the shows. They usually don't participate in the cruises, but they'll go hang out at the show and like take pictures or broadcast. One of the Patriot Day cruise car show and cruises, one of the news channels ended up covering. So that was fun. And that one was in Riverton. But yeah, the city's been pretty supportive. And they also like it too because it's a way for people to sit outside and their own property and be entertained.
Yeah, I mean, I can totally see that. I think I went on one car parade last year, and it was for the house down in was it Sandy area, with the LGBTQ flag being taken down and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But so we went on that little parade. It was cool though because people were outside and just waving and honking everywhere. I thought it was kind of fun. But yeah,
it's fun. It's really nice to see all the smiles and all the happiness we bring to people by just showing up with a cool car in front of their house,
Yeah.
So and then the Motor Maidens, they just sit there and they wave to all the people, and they'll even get out of the car and like dance on the side of the car. And they're fun, and the crowd loves it.
Oh, that sounds so fun. I kind of want to see that next year or this year. This year. It's like it's still January.
Come check out shows. A lot of fun.
I was going to ask you then. So, what's the rarest car that has come to one of the shows and that you've taken a photo of?
I'd probably say I don't always get to see all the cars, but the ones that I saw a McLaren one time. Like we have a few supercars that come through that will occasionally just, they're just bored and want to do something. So, but usually like most of the cars that I see at the car shows these days are either all classics or all of like the slammed car, like the racing cars, Hondas, Acuras, everything like that. But yeah, I don't see too many crazy ones besides like McLaren, Jaguar. There was a really, really nice Mercedes one time. I don't even remember which one it was, but oh my God, it was all black and it was beautiful and the seats were white. But yeah, I mean, there's some cool ones that show up. The Comic-Con card shows up a lot, I've noticed.
What's that? Like, just, is that, I've never been to Comic-Con, so.
Oh, it's an Audi. He's got an Audi. So there's the owner or the guy who runs, or I should say FanX now. he is the owner of that Audi, and he changes the wrap on it all the time to like different stuff, and he drives it around. I really, really like his Audi. It's very cool. So
Is it like a
we get some cool people though that come out. Yes, I believe it's the R8. I believe.
How new is that? I don't know how new that is. So I'm so ignorant on the subject. Sorry, phone was about to get caught. Okay, so then let me ask you this: and like, where do you hope to go, like next from this? Because you've kind of merged two worlds that you've grown up with. Do you hope to continue this, or do you hope to expand it even further and kind of branch out more with what you already have? Does that make sense?
I mainly want to take Motor Maidens national. I mean, international would be great, but Motor Maidens for sure. I would like it to be noticed as a national brand eventually. And then, you know, I want to take my girls to SEMA. That's like one of the biggest car shows events in the world. So, I mean, my goal is to get them there and to get the brand nationally recognized. As far as like, and then like as far as the car club, that's the only other thing like I really care about the most is the car club. I really would like to have more women get involved with the club. I want to start hosting classes to teach women to how to work on cars. I want to create a safe space for them to be able to work on their cars. I would like to watch that one go national, you know, have a club in every state. So yeah, I'd say those two are probably the things that I'll be pushing the hardest to get out there.
That's exciting though. That's like a huge step, I would think. Because like before last year, before you picked it up, like, did you see it going this far?
I did not even think that it would go anywhere. And then, you know, now I'm here and I have sponsors and I have a full team of models, and it's just taken off. I mean, I'm launching my store at the end of this month as well, and all the merch will be ready to purchase. So it's exciting. I'm excited.
So at the end of January or February?
Yes. Yes. So like,
that's exciting. We'll make sure to plug that in the show notes. And then thank you. Well, because it's kind of, you know, grown more than you've expected. What are some of the fears that you have with it now?
I mean, it's always a fear when something grows too fast. You can't keep up, you know. But so far, everything's good. Everything's progressing steadily. And then, you know, another fear is there's always enemies when you become famous. You know, that you can never, like, you just want 100% peace all the time. Might be asking for too much, but you know. So I guess my fear is just hoping that that there's no negativity. You know, I just want peaceful year of growth and success and all that.
I think, you know, that's all anybody can ask for, especially after for most of us, last year was kind of like really chaotic, but hopefully this year it takes off even more for you. Yeah. It sounds like it went pretty well. But I don't know. I think it'd be fun, especially if you do go national with all these different clubs, you know, like would chapters be a fitting word? Like, is that pretty cool? More or no?
I guess. Yeah, maybe for Valkyries. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's definitely like, it's like a chapter for sure.
Sons of Anarchy's tainted me. I'm sorry.
Yeah. Yeah, I love Oh my gosh, excuse me, Sons of Anarchy. I think it was honestly one of my favorite shows. I binge watched it, so I can't complain.
Yeah, I do an annual binge watch. Maybe if it's not annual, maybe like every other couple of years, I'll do a binge watch of it. Still holds up from this finale. So I did it last year during COVID.
Yeah, I
Definitely.
actually I don't do that with Sons of Anarchy, but I do that with Vikings.
Okay, so that's one show I'm meaning to get into. The soundtrack. There's a vocalist who's part of like a Nordic band, like a folk Nordic band of some sort. They have a new album
Okay.
out. I was listening to them last night while I was like making dinner and just cutting onions, and I was crying because of the onions. Right, while listening to this music that's kind of like Nordic folk, and I'm like, God, this makes me feel like I'm in nature just cutting onions. It reminded me of Vikings. So.
That's funny. I love it.
Yeah.
Yes.
Who's
Yeah.
that? Wardrana.
I'm
I think it's
obsessed with
Wardrana.
Viking everything. Yeah. Yes. They're amazing. I love all their music. They're very good.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've actually funny backstory for me is this. I actually did Ancestry like 2 years ago. This whole time I thought I was Cuban and Spaniard, but this whole time I've also been obsessed with like Celtic and Viking stuff. And then I did Ancestry, and it told me that I'm Irish and Scottish and Norwegian. And so I was like, oh, so I am a Viking.
Yeah, I haven't done.
So it threw me through.
Well, I haven't done mine yet. Just judging from my sister and my dad, I'm pretty sure I'm just European as fuck.
Yeah. Yeah. Actually, started dating my boyfriend because I've always wanted to date an Irish guy. And, I just thought it was funny. Like when we found out together, and we're Irish together.
Does he look Irish then?
Oh yeah, he for sure looks like an Irish Viking.
That's fun.
Yeah.
I think I had Brian Higgins on. I don't know if you know who Brian is, but he's from Ireland. He's kind of going into like the folklore of like Lover, the Celtic stuff.
Oh, nice.
It was fun.
Yeah. Yeah, I love everything. The music, the food, the culture, all of it. It just feels at home,
Yeah, because I'm Scottish. My last name was actually Campbell. But I've never been to Scotland or Ireland, but it's on my list eventually.
Yeah.
Hopefully.
Yeah, I would love to visit there. I'm actually waiting for my friend to go to Dublin so that I can go with her. She's moving to Dublin, and she's going to take me with her to take some photos.
Well, that'll be fun.
I'm very excited. Maybe I can find my roots. I actually don't know what my real last name is. My mom has had 2 adopted names, and she doesn't even know what her original last name is either. So, but my boyfriend's last name is Mclean. So I'll be a Mclean soon.
There you go.
Yeah.
I know according to one of my aunts, because they went to Scotland, one of the tour guides told them not to tell anybody that Campbell is their last name. They're like, what? Why? It's like,
wow.
It's a Scottish thing, right? But it turns out it's because the family were kind of fucking assholes way back in the day, and there's a lot of hate.
No way.
Yeah. Like they'd invite people in for like take them in, and like offer them food and stuff, but then they'd like rape all the women and kill the children and shit. Like it was like the most messed up stuff. Yeah.
Sure. Wow.
Yeah. So I'm just like, well, that sucks.
Yeah, that's pretty hardcore. That would be hard to have that name. I thank goodness we'll be transferring to his last name, the Mcleans, which are just total badasses. So
yeah, it's a Die Hard reference.
Yeah, John McClane, come on, like. cool thing is too, is his middle name's Kasul. His grandpa was the person who created the Kasul pistol.
No shit.
Yeah. So
Like his grandfather or his great grandfather?
Like probably his great grandfather, but yeah, his family he's part of the family that created the Kasul pistol, and his other grandfather on the other side, it created the tater tot.
Like the food, like Napoleon Dynamite.
Yeah. I'm not even kidding. I was, oh, how did I find you? Like, it made me laugh. So, yeah, fun little story. So my kid gets all these cool names now.
That's so cool. I love tater tots, by the way. That sounds really good right now.
I was very grateful for his grandpa.
Yeah. That's, okay, well, we'll start just wrapping this up a little bit.
Yeah.
I like to end this with like 2 questions, and one of the questions is like a 2-parter. So it's technically 3 questions, but 2.5. We'll say 2.5. Number 1 is, how do you hope you can inspire others by pursuing photography and the merging the car world with photography?
I just want everyone to know that there's no guideline that says you can't do something. You don't have to be a certain gender or a certain age or a certain ethnicity to be in an industry or do a career you want to do. That's all I'm trying to do is inspire people or especially other women. Like, don't be afraid to get out there and stand up to whoever thinks that you can't do it. I've had a lot of people tell me that last year, like, you'll never survive in this industry. And, I was like, oh yeah, you tell me that now, huh? But, yeah, I just want everyone to give it their all. I want everyone to try, and I don't want anyone to live in fear.
I love that. With that being said, then, like, with those people who are naysayers, are they still part of your life, or were you like, bye, Felicia?
I definitely hit that block button, but you can't kick out. So it's more of just being professional, and no matter where I go, if I run into anybody unprofessional, I'm always the one that's the professional one, and it's usually them that end up showing their true colors,
Right.
And then everyone just disrespects them in the end. So I definitely know how to hold my own, and and if I need to say something, I say something nice, and I'm professional about it. I don't see any reason to be rude, especially to your enemies. Like, violence doesn't fix anything. So
Nope, but the block button sure does.
It does.
No, I've actually been very guilty of using that, especially last year. But then my second 2-parter question: what's one piece of advice that has stuck to you, and how do you apply it to your craft and to like your daily life?
One advice that I have gotten in the past that's important to me is it's really hard to get caught up in your thoughts, especially the negative ones. So, I had a few people tell me last year, like, just take all those negative thoughts and put them in a box and put that box on the shelf, and you can deal with it later. Like, for me, I would just sit there and stew on things. So my advice is, my advice based on the advice I got, like, don't sit there and remain in your negative mindset. If anything, 2020 last year really put us through the ringer. It made all of us super negative. For me, it felt the love disappeared out of the world temporarily, And so all I have to say from the advice I got is like, yeah, take that negativity, store it, put it on the shelf. Eventually it will disappear or fade in, fade away, whatever. Just try and do your best, try and stay positive. And that's all I've been trying to do. That's all you can do these days.
It is all you can do. Especially because we're still here. Like we wake up every day, and it's just a new day to kind of either, you put forth the effort of being negative, or you put forth the effort of putting care into the craft or whatever, that's going on in your daily life. It's funny. I watched 2 movies last night that brought me to this conclusion. Okay. This is going to be really weird because the movies are mediocre at best. Okay. First movie I watched was 17 again with Zac Efron.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Which, is where he transforms back into a 17-year-old because he wants to finish out stuff that he regrets not finishing. Right. Yeah. Then I'm like, well, a good double feature for this will be 13 going on 30, right? Instead of going back in time, you go back to the future or into the future. Yeah. But both movies, I've realized this, is that they always go back to the present moment and they make the present moment count the most. Like you could relish on what you want to accomplish. You could relish on what you should have done, but none of that's going to change unless you act in the present. So if you act in the present with a lot of negativity, then that's only going to outpour negativity in the future, and it's going to leave you really bitter about the past.
Yes, and that's honestly, if I could tell everyone to just meditate, I would. Like, it's sounds. Go in your room, sit down, turn everything off, and meditate. I promise, if you take a deep breath, you'll feel better. Everything will be better. Honestly, last year, the number one thing that I learned to help me, because so my huge thing is I don't do pills, I don't drink, I don't smoke, I don't do any of that. I stay far away from it. So when I'm upset, I do breathing techniques. Breathing techniques actually have been proven to fix a lot of things, a lot. And so, yeah, you just got to meditate, take a deep breath, chill out, slow everything down. It's if it works on a toddler, it'll work on you. I promise.
No, it totally will. I've noticed, especially lately, if I sit in my living room and just listen to the clocks ticking and just kind of synchronize the breathing with that, it definitely calms you down, and you kind of become more collected just mentally too. You're just okay, this is what I need to do next. It's just, you totally forget about whatever was stressing you out before. You know? But I think that's
a lot of people get caught up.
What were you gonna say?
Oh, I just said a lot of people get caught up in their mind with their thoughts and then just get lost.
It's true. And last year I actually was very sleep deprived because I had anxiety attacks randomly in the night.
Oh yeah.
But I got a weighted blanket. Solved everything.
I heard those.
Oh yeah, it's the best deep sleep ever. I've woken myself up from snoring. That's how great it is.
Huh. I'll have to try one of those. I heard they're pretty great. I don't sleep. I'm an insomniac.
Yeah, I am too. Last night I go to bed at 12 because I watched that 13 going on 30. Mediocre. They weren't as great as I remember, but.
Yeah, I go to bed at 3 every night. I probably shouldn't.
Yeah, why? But, that's a long night.
I don't know. Honestly, I get caught up editing photos, and I'm look at the clock, and it's 3 in the morning. I'm oh, I guess I should go to bed.
Yeah, it reminds me of, is it How I Met Your Mother? How they're nothing ever happens after 11 o'clock.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, but okay. Well, where can people find you, Luna? And drop all your, promote yourself here.
Yes, you can find my work. I have 2 websites. I got lunamalina.com, or I have motormaidens.com. You can also find me on Instagram or any social media under at the Luna Malyna. And then same with Motor Maidens. If you want to check out all my other blogs or side businesses, check out my profile and I will have all the links in there for you to see.
Excellent. Most excellent. Well, thank you so much for coming on. It wasn't bad, right?
Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it. It means a lot to me to be featured on such a cool channel. And I know a lot of the artists that you have actually featured on here. So
do you really?
I am grateful. Yeah. The one I actually listened to last was Landon's.
I love Landon.
Yeah, he's a sweetheart. He promotes a lot of my stuff too. So
yeah, I've everybody needs to reach out to Landon and tell him that they love him. He's a good guy.
Yeah, he seems like a good guy. So yeah. I haven't met him in person yet. Just we've only talked on social media, but
yeah, no,
I am extremely grateful that I was able to be featured among him and others.
Yeah, he's great. If you ever get the chance to meet him and work with him, I definitely recommend it. He's my main go-to producer guy for filming shorts and stuff.
Nice.
Yeah.
It's good to know.
Yeah. So, well, yes, follow Luna on everything. You can follow me on everything as well, I guess. And that's it. That's the show, Luna. So thank you for coming on.
Thank you for having me.